Welcome and thank you for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored tonight. Have you ever felt so down that you neglected to bathe or shower for a day? Well, what about 3 weeks? One woman shared her story online. She says she inadvertently stopped taking care of some of her hygiene needs after being hyper-focused on her full-time job. Takes it.
I've almost been fired from every job that I've ever had, and it's not because I'm not smart. I actually tend to overperform in the beginning. It's just that after some time, I inevitably burn out once I wake up one day and realize that I haven't taken a shower in like 3 weeks. It's really frustrating because I know that I'm an intelligent person and I've been able to accomplish a lot of really amazing things in my life, but I still can't manage to take care of myself. And it's not just a matter of not trying hard enough or not being disciplined. If I could take care of my basic needs and work full time, I would have done that by now and then some. It's a form of self-sabotage to honestly be putting so much energy into these executive functioning skills at work and not have anything left to give myself. It's like I would deadass wake up at 5 a.m., pace back and forth, start working at 7, finish work at 6, eat, sleep for dinner, and then crawl in bed at 8 o'clock. And it's like a part of me does feel insane by quitting at the verge of a recession, but it's like if I actually want to build a future for myself and get there in one piece, taking care of myself has to become my full-time job.
Now let's turn to our guests for their reaction on this. Joining us tonight, podcaster Zach Estrada, photographer David Settle, principal of B&B Hospitality, Bevan Biggers, and therapist Dr. Bernadette Smith. So guys, Bevan, let's begin with you. Your thoughts about this?
Okay, maybe a day, I don't know. You know, I used to work doubles for years, right? But wake up and it's been 3 weeks and you work a full-time job, nobody can smell you? Wait, she works from home, right? She works from home?
She said she works
from home. So nobody has to smell her, so that's probably why it wasn't an issue. Yeah, I work a lot. I worked 12-hour shifts for like years, and I will always find time to take a bath. And I am hyper-focused, and I like what I do, but 3 weeks is crazy.
All right, David, let's hear from you. Your thoughts?
Ooh, yeah, man, when I heard 3 weeks, I thought she like reverted back to like a college student era, like those college days. Now, I never went 3 weeks. I never went 3 weeks, but, you know, pulling those all-nighters. Now, mind you, I also got 5 kids, too. To be able to go to bed at 8 o'clock would be a dream come true, but I've got to come do shows like this, you know what I'm saying?
Right. We keep you up late.
Right. Yeah. But I will say this, though. My heart does go out to her, right? Regardless, I know a lot of people are going to lean into the whole not bathing for 3 weeks, but there's got to be some sort of underlying issue that's leading up to that sort of extremity, you know, because 3 weeks is a long time, but my heart does go out to her because I do feel like there's a deeper issue going on that's causing this.
All right, Zach, your thoughts about this?
I mean, I feel like these days people just don't want to work. I think people use that as an excuse, especially these younger generations. They just, for some reason, they're on their phones, they're scrolling through it, they want to be influencers, so they're trying to do this influence stuff, and they just, at the end of the day, they just don't want to work. But then again, going with her, maybe she's going through a depression phase, but even if you're going through a depression phase, you still got to get up.
Well, I mean, I've gone through a depressive phase.
Same here.
And I wasn't taking care of myself, but she's saying every time she gets a job, she does this.
Yeah.
So she needs to like talk to a therapist about that.
Bathe and get in the shower.
If you have time to go and cook and eat,
yes,
you can spend at least 3-4 minutes to shower.
Exactly.
It's wild.
That's what I'm confused about.
I went through a bout with viral meningitis, right? I was sick for like 3 weeks, lost 40 pounds. It was crazy. I looked like a caveman, let my beard go. Went to the doctor, my follow-up appointment after I was starting to feel a little bit better. I thought he was going to prescribe me some medication, give me some antibiotics. I thought he was going to give me something. His advice to me was go home, shower, and take a bath and eat something healthy, right?
And taking a shower is so therapeutic. Like when I was going through a depressive period, taking a shower was like the best thing ever. But every time you get a job, you can't be doing this. You need to go to a therapist, not TikTok.
And of course, we're going to get to our therapist, Dr. Smith here. But for those who say we've heard since the pandemic, we've heard many terms like quiet quitting, soft living. From this new generation, many are saying that they're not willing to work like we once did? Do you think that played a role in it? Do you think it becomes overwhelming to them if they want to do this lifestyle, but the reality is in order to work, you have to go, in order to make a living, you have to work and go out and get a job?
Well,
Absolutely.
I don't even feel like, honestly, I don't even really feel like this generation is necessarily lazy. I feel like the perks that the previous generations had where they could work one job, take care of a family, and buy a house, it's not the same for this generation, and it's even worse for Gen Z. They have to have a full-time job, side gigs, hustle, and they still can't even get an asset. They still can't start a family. It's really, really expensive. So if you're doing all this work and you're not really getting any perks, you're gonna burn out. So that's one side of it.
Correct.
So I don't really feel like they're lazy. They're just like, why am I doing all this working and I'm not really getting what my dad or my grandma got? What's the point?
Correct. And people don't realize it until they get in their late 20s. But I tell these young cats, I'm like, man, start the work, start investing in your stocks, get your assets right. But then again, I was like, man, I was once that kid one time too, and I didn't listen. So.
All right, Dr. Smith, let's bring you into the conversation for the last minute, then we take you to the next segment. What do you think is going on here with this young lady?
She probably has undiagnosed depression, maybe some undiagnosed anxiety as well. Initially, when she was talking about she wakes up at 5 in the morning and she's pacing until she starts her work at 7. So to me, as a therapist, those are those key indicators that say, okay, there's something else underlining here. Followed by not bathing, which is also another key indication of major depressive disorder. And so I know that it can be challenging for people to understand what that looks like, especially if you've never experienced major depressive disorder, because as she was saying, having a depressive bout is very different from clinical depression, because then that will and that desire to do just basic care things becomes overwhelmingly complicated and challenging for people sometimes.
All right, and we'll continue this conversation with our guests. Don't go anywhere, Dr. Smith. Still to come here on The Factor Uncensored. We'll continue this discussion after the break. Also, welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. We continue our discussion on how some people can forget daily tasks like brushing their teeth or bathing. Our guests are back to tackle this issue. Dr. Smith, for those who may have been judgmental when it comes to this young lady, your thoughts, what did you see there? Obviously you can't really diagnose her unless you're there with her, but what did you see in that video?
Somebody who's struggling, somebody who's really struggling, somebody who probably doesn't have the proper tools and support systems in place to help offset when she is in those struggle spots. During the break, I was listening to you speak, Evan, and she was saying how if she had a friend going through that, she would go over there and be like, hey, this is what we need to do. And that's what becomes important when we're talking about support systems and being able to identify the tools and resources. I think the other part of it is sometimes we don't recognize and realize what's going on with ourselves. Like 3 weeks is a long time for her to finally connect the dots of, oh, I haven't been taking care of this basic need, which tells me again, she is potentially struggling depression, struggling with anxiety, overwhelmed in her head, which means she's not able to necessarily recognize the patterns that she should notice to let her seek help. So I think what becomes important in that to seek help is to not be shameful, right? Being able to identify the people with whom you love, who support you. And even if you don't have that, then it's a mental health provider, so you're not going to be in that shame space. Being able to break things down into small tasks. So what is one small thing you can do? There's an author, Casey Davis, and she talked about even if it's wiping your face with a cloth. Ideally, we want to take a shower, but then if it's just one small thing. She also talked about if, let's say, you're too tired to like wash your dishes. She's like, get a Ziploc bag, put it in a Ziploc bag so at least you're not attracting bugs with it. Again, ideally that's not where we want to be, but you're doing those one small things to help get you back into the groove of that self-care and taking care of those tasks.
And of course it may have she made it sound as if she was just tired, but there's more, like you said, going on there. And is exhaustion part of depression?
Absolutely. And again, that goes back to what I said. She probably is not aware of the signs and symptoms of depression, the signs and symptoms of anxiety, or whatever undiagnosed mental health behavior. And we oftentimes, especially women, right, especially Black women, will label it as, oh, I'm just tired. because that becomes that balloon term that we use, because saying I'm tired is acceptable, right? Versus, oh, I'm depressed, I don't know what I'm doing, I can't think. That sometimes becomes unrelatable, but we can all kind of relate to tired.
And was it difficult for you guys when you did your bouts with depression to admit that? And how did you know what you were going through?
I'll say this. For me, I wasn't aware. I had adopted like that mindset of like that hustle culture, especially as a man, where it's like, if things aren't going right, you got to work through it. You just got to work harder and then harder. And if you feel sad, well, you got to work even harder. Yeah. And it got me a little bit of success, right? I was able to found several successful businesses, author some books. I was speaking all over the country. But then I hit that burnout phase where I crashed, and I crashed hard. It eventually led to a suicide attempt. And by the grace of God, I'm still here. But even with that hustle culture mindset and no help, less than 24 hours after my suicide attempt, I was out there I was back on the grind. I was back out there trying to kill it. So I think here's the deal. We can't try to force self-care into a 15-minute break. Like, it has to be prioritized, and it has to be the foundation, or else everything else will crumble.
All right.
And if
really quick.
Doing micro self-cares, just as he said, if you're doing a little bit for yourself every day, you're nurturing yourself to prevent from complete depletion.
All right.
Can I say, what I was saying was I've actually physically put my friend in like an actual shower, because I'm like, it's been too long, you're sad, let me go ahead and do the first step for you. And I sat there and I bathed her.
Good. And need friends like that. Thank you all.